Now she just completely ruined everything, bro. When I met this girl, I was...
The house was empty. Not just in the sense of furniture or things, no. It was hollow in a way that echoed in his chest. Every drawer had been cleared out. Every closet was stripped. Every trace of her, gone. Like she had never been there. Like the last 2 years had been a shared dream he'd just woken up from alone. And then came the police. She had called them on him. In his own home. That was the part he couldn't wrap his head around.
You wouldn't answer me. You called the cops before you talked to your boyfriend? Are you kidding me? Like, how the f are you doing that? That's it, bro. That's all I did.
That I don't know.
Yeah, but I did. I just wanted to talk to you. That's it. Then just talk. So you wouldn't answer me, bro. Are you kidding me? Like, what? Like, you called the cops.
You can't like slow down so I can be with you.
You gotta get out of my house. I didn't let you. I didn't say you.
Okay, she's letting us in.
She doesn't own this house. I didn't say you can come to my house.
Her address is on here. She's a resident here.
I don't care. You guys aren't allowed in my house.
We're not here to have a hard
You guys aren't allowed in my house.
She lives here.
Who gave you?
She did.
She doesn't own this house. Just because she lives doesn't mean she can permission to.
Stop. I live there.
Bro, you called the cops on me in my own house. Bro, I've done everything for you. I didn't threaten you, bro. Bro, how did I...
Not just the leaving, not just the betrayal, but the fact that she had weaponized the law against him. As if he were the danger. As if he were the villain in the story he thought they were writing together. She had taken it all. Her things, her memories, the business, the passwords, the privacy, everything. And just like that, she was gone. Man, she really left you, one of his friends had muttered, half sarcastic, trying to soften the blow with humor. But there was no joke to be made. It wasn't funny. It wasn't a skill issue. It was a devastation. She had used him. There was no other way to frame it. She used him to build her platform, to pull in over $500,000 a month, to gain financial freedom, and then she vanished, leaving him behind in the dust of the empire he helped her build. He gave her everything, everything. He poured himself into her, his time, his money, his focus. He treated her like royalty. He believed in her. And in return, she stabbed him in the back. It was maddening. Not just because of what she did, but because of how blind he had been. Who even is this person? He kept asking himself, pacing through the hollow echo of rooms that once felt like home. Where was this version of her hiding the last 2 years? Had it all been an act? A facade? He couldn't tell anymore. The lines between truth and manipulation were blurred beyond recognition. He had done more for her than he had ever done for anyone, more than even for his own mother. And for what? So she could leave the moment it was convenient. And now, people online strangers were laughing, mocking. Dude's whole personality is his money, they said. How didn't he see this coming? He wanted to scream. They didn't know. They hadn't lived it. They didn't see the nights he stayed up working just to make sure she had everything. The way he reshaped his business around her. How he sacrificed growth and opportunity for the sake of love. She had been the center of his world, his muse, his investment. And now she was gone. He'd built her into a millionaire in less than a year. Probably spent $1 million on her too. Not just on things, but on moments, on memories, on belief. And she erased him over an argument. One fight, one disagreement. That's all it took for her to flip the switch, change her email, lock him out of every shared account, walk away like none of it ever mattered. And that wasn't even the worst part. She didn't do it alone. Out of nowhere, some friend he'd never met appeared. A stranger. She helped her pack up, move out, clean house. It was coordinated, like they'd been planning it behind his back all along. He laughed bitterly at the thought. Who the hell even is this girl? He muttered to himself, still reeling from the shock. I swear, if I ever see her again, he trailed off, knowing full well there was nothing he could or would do. What cut the deepest wasn't the money. It was the betrayal. He kept thinking back to all the ways he had changed for her, adapted, adjusted. He stopped working with other models even though it hurt his business because she didn't like it. She didn't want him around other girls, even professionally. So he shut everything down. He restructured everything around her because he believed she'd never betray him. Because he thought she loved him as much as he loved her. Because he was wrong. Now everything they built together was gone. She wasn't just a partner. She was the whole agency. When she left, the entire operation crumbled. The income disappeared. The audience faded. He went from making $1.5 million a month to barely a fraction of that. And sure, to most people, $150,000 a month still sounds like a dream, but to him, it felt like rock bottom. especially when the drop happened because he gave too much of himself to someone who saw him as disposable. Worse yet, his online presence had tanked. Banned from platforms, low viewership, dead chats. Streams that once lit up with thousands of messages now crawled by, one lonely comment every minute. He wasn't a name anymore, just a guy rambling into the void, hoping someone still cared. And through it all, he still missed her. Not the woman she turned into, but the version he fell in love with. The version he believed was real. Maybe she just didn't appreciate anything, he thought. All she had to do was wake up with me, be positive, be grateful. That's all I asked. I gave her the world, and she couldn't even meet me halfway. But another voice in his head pushed back. Maybe it wasn't that simple. Maybe she was exhausted. Maybe the life he created, as glamorous as it seemed, was draining. Maybe the way he criticized her wore her down. Maybe the reason she stayed in bed all day wasn't laziness, but escape. He didn't like that voice, but he couldn't ignore it. He remembered trying to wake her up one morning. Gently, at first. Hey, we should get up early, he'd said. We've got so much to live for, so much to do. He thought he was motivating her. Maybe he was just pressuring her, but he couldn't let himself go too far down that path. Because if he started believing it was his fault, he didn't know if he'd recover. I was the best thing that ever happened to her, he muttered. There's no one else who would have done for her what I did. But deep down, he feared the truth that maybe she'd find someone else, someone less intense, someone calmer, kinder, someone who didn't tie love to expectations. He shook the thought away. She had ruined everything. He met her at the peak of his life. He was flying high. Then came love, and then came loss. The business faltered, the fire dimmed, and now, here he was in a mansion that felt like a mausoleum, alone, empty, drained. He stared at his screen, hoping someone was listening, hoping his 20 viewers would hear the pain between the lines, hoping someone would understand. But maybe they never would. Maybe no one ever really could. He'd built her life from scratch, transformed her into a millionaire, gave her stability, comfort, safety, love. And at the first crack in the armor, she turned on him, changed passwords, took everything. Everything I worked for, everything I loved, just gone, he whispered. What was it all for? He had no more models, no more business, no more agency. He had put everything on her, thinking it was a wise investment in love. He was wrong. He tried to spin it, to find hope in the ashes. Maybe one day we'll get back together, he said. Or maybe not. Maybe I don't even want her back after this. But the wound was still open, still bleeding. And the Maybach she drove off in? He'd paid for that too. Fitting, really. She rode away in luxury while he sat in silence, live streaming heartbreak to a shrinking crowd. And somewhere in the blur of disbelief, anger, sorrow, and confusion, he finally said the words, "I'm done." And maybe, just maybe, that was the first honest thing he'd said all night.